everyone, Room here. Welcome back to our live Baxter DLC. We're here on our morning date with our lovely boyfriend that is not a morning person.
No.
Please order to your heart's content, whatever you fancy. But don't be alarmed that I don't have much of an appetite in comparison. Coffee is all I need this morning. I get that. Of course you'd only want black coffee. Are you sure you'd want even a little bite to eat? Well, so much for us getting breakfast together, you tease. Baxter's expression grew gentler as he silently watched you. When you didn't add anything else, his brows bent.
That's sweet.
You're so considerate, but trust me, I'm certain. I always intended to order a coffee. I've never had much will to eat at this hour of the day. Same, actually, but sometimes I don't get a lot of breakfast food, so why not? Okay. You were still concerned about him, but you decided to drop it. There was no use pushing him over his ideal breakfast. You weren't entirely sure if you were going to order anything yet. It was a deliberation you had with yourself while Baxter took a break. Luckily for you, the cafe's layout was open enough that you could observe the glass cases at the front from the comfort of your seat. You passed the time comparing what was printed on the menu to the real-life displays. Soon enough, the waitress was on her way back to your table. She passed out the 2 waters and then placed a white cup filled with richly colored coffee in front of Baxter and a frappe by you.
Perfect.
Are either of you ready to order? I'm taken care of, thank you. Both, actually. I want to get both and then offer it to him. You don't have to eat it, but if you want to bite, you can. I'm just saying. Everything you've seen so far smelled delicious, and after reading through the menu, how could you resist getting some goodies to sink your teeth into? The waitress smiled attentively and readied her pen. I'm all ears. I'd like... Let's see. Eggplate, egg sandwich, quiche, lunch meat sandwich, hummus and veggie sandwich, a panini. Oh, I want Panera now. I haven't had Panera in forever because, first of all, they're fucking expensive. And that's it. A breakfast burrito, a bowl of oatmeal, a smoothie bowl, a bowl of soup, a salad, a yogurt parfait. Let's get a panini. And croissant. Piece of coffee cake, a muffin, banana bread, Danish, fruit Danish, cinnamon roll, scone, a cookie, a piece of cake, a piece of pie, bread pudding, a bear claw. God damn, you don't have just a baguette? Oh, just like a baguette. Croissant. A croissant with my, what did I get? A panini? I actually don't want a pastry now. What would be something good to share with him? Cake seems too sweet in the morning. Pie? Bread pudding? Let's just get a croissant. Great choice. That sounds really yummy. I'll get these menus out of your way, and then I'll be back soon with your order. She scooped up the menus and walked away, dropping them off at the front stand before disappearing into the kitchen. I wish they had like a parfait or something. I would have gotten that, but it's pastries. Baxter shifted his attention to you.
Lovely.
It sounds like a lovely breakfast, and please, there are a variety of things that piqued your interest. Another long, wide yawn forcibly derailed Baxter's train of thought. He politely tried to shield you from the image by covering his mouth. Once he wrangled himself back into control, Baxter flashed you a grin, but it quickly lost its playful oomph as his eyes remained extra lidded. You're so cute. The coffee's not working, apparently. He had something in mind, but he also seemed fairly content to simply gaze at you languidly. Baxter lifted his coffee and pressed the edge of the cup to his lip. He took a slow sip before putting it down. Baxter propped an arm against the table so he could hold his chin up. Normally, that would have been a casual gesture, but anyone watching could tell that he desperately needed the extra help keeping his head upright.
Is that fine?
Before food arrives and steals all your attention away, would it be fun to ask a question? Oh sure, ask away. What exactly is the event you have on the horizon? It's nothing crazy. I'm gonna go see my aunt and uncle. I'm looking forward to seeing them, but I'm already missing Lee. Who's Lee? My cousin, their daughter. We're about the same age and are friends, but she won't be there this time. She's busy. His response was cut off by another yawn, and when that morphed into a wince, Baxter tried to smooth things with a sweet smile.
I'm sorry.
I promise that was not me being bored. He blinked and it was hilariously obvious that his eyelids didn't easily unstick. You bit down on the inside of your cheek and tried not to laugh. It's alright, you're tired. Exactly, please continue. Yeah, Out of my aunt and uncle, it's my uncle who I'm directly related to. He's my mom's younger brother. We all get along. That's the part of my extended family we're closest with. Well, in this terms of location. Laughing, you scratched the back of your head while you explained. Baxter nodded along, focusing on the sound of your voice. His smile softened as you grew more animated, speaking about your family. It's not that I don't also have a good relationship with everyone on my mom's side, but they mainly live in Hawaii, so it's a lot harder to go see them in person. My grandparents used to be in California when me and Liz were little so they could help out, but that was temporary. And yeah, it's nice having family that we can see more often. Your voice trailed off with fond thoughts about your family, and then your eyes snapped wide open. All Baxter did was ask about your plans for the day, and somehow you ended up rambling about so much more. Oh no, I kind of went a whole thing there. Nonsense, I enjoyed listening to everything you shared.
Thank you.
Thank you for telling me about your family. It was lovely to hear about them. You're welcome then. The waitress returned with your order. She placed it carefully on the table. Enjoy! Thank you. You didn't waste a single second and gave it a taste. It was good. Since you had basically covered everything about what you were doing later, you didn't need to juggle thinking, talking, and eating, just as Baxter intended. It was nice to preoccupy yourself with this treat. Baxter, meanwhile, only had his coffee, and he was acutely aware of that difference. Baxter pinched the inside of his lip between his teeth when he tried to search through his foggy thoughts for something to say. He wanted to be good company, but he wasn't sure how to accomplish that. I know. How about I tell you what happened while I was on my trip? That'd be cool. Let's hear it.
In that case...
Baxter sat up straighter in his chair and considered he wanted to begin this story. His focused mindset momentarily overcame the tiredness that clung to him. As you know, I traveled to Northern California and it was a monumental drive, several hours of me, myself, and the road. The car was wonderful. It got me there and here again without a single issue, when I had every reason to rebel against all the potholes I accidentally hit. Baxter paused on that note and took a drink of his coffee. He placed a cup down on the table and winced. It's somewhat silly now that I'm vocalizing it, but I feel a tinge of guilt for all the miles I've managed to put on that vehicle over the course of this vacation. Sighing deeply, Baxter wore a wistful look. He understood the magnitude of his trip. Hopefully his mysterious acquaintance was the laid-back type. On a brighter note, the drive was even more scenic than I imagined. It was a shame I couldn't snap a single picture. Still, I'm grateful I was able to leisurely travel across the state while I was here. You nodded along to his story. California was a big, diverse state. It made your head spin trying to imagine everything he managed to pack into that trip. And all that fuss to see some old family friends. Believe it or not, they're actually people my parents have known since, well, before I was even alive. Wow. Well, indeed. I can't even imagine knowing someone for that many years. Though, between you and me, I don't have much of a relationship with them myself. Really? But you went completely out of your way to see them. I know. They've always been fond of me, almost as if I was their own nephew. They're more than happy to open the door to me given the chance. This might surprise you, or perhaps not, but I managed to get along famously with an older set.
So?
It was only polite to make a social call while in the relative area, and there was plenty to catch up on and discuss while I was there. We even happened to catch some fantastic shows. It's nice you enjoy the trip within your trip. Baxter's nose scrunched as he chuckled. He took another quick sip of his drink. I can't agree more. The two of you continued to chat about upcoming plans while finishing your drinks, and also in between several more extended and defiant yawns from Baxter. Eventually, he glanced towards the windows and his brow pinched. He didn't say anything on his own, so you asked, "What's wrong?"
Well...
I'm worried that I might be keeping you too long from your other plans. It's not too late yet. I don't want there to be a yet. Your family's important. Do you want to get going then? Yes, that would be for the best. He turned in the seat until he caught where the waitress had gone. Baxter waved and she returned a minute later. Could we please have the check? You know, it's a date. We're gonna appreciate it. It'll be one ticket. You got it. I'll get that for you right away. I'm sad we couldn't share him with our food, because, you know, I wanted to share our food with him. As soon as the waitress was out of sight, Baxter let out another yawn. Baxter let out yet another yawn, but it morphed into a frustrated groan. Getting fairly sick of that. His tone didn't sugarcoat a single feeling. Pouting, Baxter crossed his arms and tightly shut his eyes. Are you alright? Baxter only murmured and roughly rubbed the sides of his face. His frustration manifested visibly as a grimace. I can't distinctly feel my own eyeballs in my skull due to the strain. His hand dropped onto the table and the glasses rattled softly. That only made his mood worsen. I hate that. I shouldn't have to be so aware of my own presence in this body. I'm a little confused. Are you frustrated you keep yawning? You wanted to help him, but there wasn't anything else that you could really do. Baxter cracked an eye open at your gesture. You've been more than gracious for sitting through my complaints. I don't mind. It would be better if I could do more. No, you've done more than enough. I shall live through it. He smiled and Baxter generally tried to match it despite how he was feeling. The waitress approached once more with a small black folder and placed it on the center of the tabletop. Can I clear any of this away for you? No rush if you're not ready. Please take it all. We're about to leave. The waitress got right to work gathering the cups. Baxter, meanwhile, picked up the folder and opened it. After a few the server was off again and Baxter peeked at you over the top of the folder. Thank you, Michiko. I do appreciate you making time for me at the very last minute, and especially on a day when you were already so busy. Thanks for inviting me.
Of course.
It's always a treat to see you. Baxter's half-lit gaze lingered contentedly while he reached in his pocket, and then those tired eyes snapped open. He reached the alertness he'd been striving for in an instant. He forgot his wallet. My wallet. He stared at you helplessly. Baxter was sober and extremely aware of the reality he found himself in. I didn't bring my wallet. When I got dressed, I did not recall to take my wallet off the nightstand. It's fine. I'm not surprised considering how hectic things were. Darn, I hate it when that happens. That means this will be my treat. You know, let's make a lightness to this. You grinned boldly, but your cheer fizzled out when Baxter didn't respond. He continued to stare at the check in horror. Understandably, Baxter was mortified. He threaded his fingers through his hair. I'll quickly run back and get it and return, but then I'd have to abandon it here, and that's not any better. Perhaps they might take an electronic payment I could send through my phone. Baxter, I can pay for you, really, it's alright. The corner of his mouth twitched, and you read that as a sign that he'd at least heard you, though you suppose it was only because he had reached a dead end in his own ability to solve this problem. Baxter pressed his palms against his eyes, and his fingers curled tightly. He released a slow, shaky breath. He reached out only to freeze halfway across the table. From his tense body language, he was trying with great difficulty to keep himself from getting truly upset. You shouldn't push him. You weren't sure how to help or what to do. You could only watch. He exhaled deeply once more, and this time, he lowered his hands, folding them neatly on the table.
Yes.
I would appreciate that greatly. He couldn't quite look at you while he spoke, though the forced politeness in his tone reached you completely. Okay, I don't mind. He collected the check he dropped in his panic, and slid your card into it. When the waitress swung by, he handed it over. There was no trouble to be found at this table. Thanks a bunch, just one minute. She walked off, and as you shifted your attention to Baxter, in that brief period his shoulders had lost their defeated slump, and he sat stiffly upright instead. He studied your reaction with a delicate smile. Please don't misunderstand. I am entirely fine. The issue is with my behavior towards you. You don't need to force yourself to make me feel better. It was all my mistake. His lips pressed into a fine line, and it was crystal clear that he was preemptively stopping you from further okaying the situation. Well, girlie, you better not say okay for the millionth time. Your gaze dropped at the tabletop, and the awkwardness was too stifling to do anything else. The way Baxter was beating himself up for perfectly normal missteps was horrible. You didn't like it at all. There was a reason why people call these kinds of situations accidents, because there was no manipulative or malicious intent. His only crime today was being human and sleepy. It would have been great to remind him of all that, but Baxter was far too irked to hear any of it. He wanted to move on, so you bookmarked things there. The date wrapped up in a haze. The waitress returned your card and wished you both a wonderful day, then you left. I don't know what kind of date this was, but not one of the best ones. Baxter managed to muster up a few things to discuss on the car ride home, but the conversation was distant and disjointed from how you both normally clicked. Oh, this is awkward. You made it home safely, though not before our silence had time to form. The slamming of his door to exit the vehicle was the first you heard from Baxter in a while. I don't like this. Trauma. The two of you stood on the street face to face, but the awkwardness from the cafe had also come along for the ride, and it lingered forebodingly. This wasn't something you wanted to continue between you and him. Neither of you had a move to leave, a promising sign that he was struggling with the same thought. Baxter began sliding his fingers through his hair, but then he paused mid-motion and dug his nails into his scalp, his controlled expression strained.
I'm sorry.
This is all my fault. I not only forgot my wallet, but I made things increasingly worse by acting immature about it, undoubtedly making you uncomfortable. It may be hard to believe at this point, but I often can deal with unexpected issues as a reasonable adult. Today stung a little more than usual. I'm big enough to admit that. It certainly did not help that all of this was coming on the heels of the already disastrous first impression. I had been hopeful that I could still fix the overall impression by the end. Needless to say, I didn't succeed, and I'd completely understand if you were doubting the merit of a relationship with me at this point. I presented myself terribly to you. What a mortifying first date to go through. I'm gonna count the other one as our first date. Well, you know, I mean, yeah, it was a pretty shit date, but like we've already associated ourselves with Baxter a few times before. So like we know who he is as a person already. So I think we can just do a redo date. But if the situation was different where this was actually our first date with him and this was like no impression of him at all, this would have been a red flag date. But we know him. We know a lot about him. So this date was bad, but you're still getting another chance. The case was different, then no, you would never get a second chance. But anyway, thank you guys for watching today's episode. Stay beautiful, and I'll see you guys in the next one.